Could it be? Could it be? It is out of here!
And it's a no-hitter! Unbelievable! Ruiz and Halladay embrace!
World champions!
It is bedlam at the bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top!
We're talking about the Lions here. Say!
Hello and welcome to the Specific Jawns Phillies Baseball Podcast. Week 1 in the books, Series 1 in the books, and plenty to talk about. Is anyone surprised? Good, bad, and ugly in this first weekend of the 2026 regular season. We are the Specific Jawns. I got my friends Mike Sambuco and Pat Barker here as always. Just a quick reminder to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. We're part of Barker Ball Media, available on YouTube and other platforms to come. Appreciate everyone who has supported us so far. We've got an entire season to look forward to and hopefully beyond. I'll just get right into it. What a start it was to the season. Opening day could not have been better in South Philadelphia. Mike, were you at the game as well?
Yeah, we were in 140, left field corner. Fantastic
Awesome.
Vantage point.
Such a great day at the ballpark. Great day in the city, really. 70-some degree weather, clear skies, just all the optimism that you hope to have on an opening day. I was sitting in 109. The festivities beforehand, were always fun to watch the players come in through the center field entrance, hoisting up that divisional flag. No matter what you feel about that, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I actually got to see the players up close. I waited outside the stadium as they were entering before I went in with my ticket. I didn't realize that was a thing. That was pretty cool. They roll up in a couple buses, probably like 100, 200 people waiting for them. A lot of little kids getting excited, getting some high fives from the ball players. Got to see the entire coaching staff. Mr. Middleton, the fanatic, came out of one of those buses, which was hilarious as expected. But yeah, just a great start to the game and opening day. Everything you really hope for out of that game, I would say. Christopher Sanchez, great performance, 6 innings. The offense clicked as well as I think we would hope early on. Kyle Schwarber hitting a bomb in his first at-bat, going to the opposite field. Alec Bohm going oppo. That was pretty nice to see in that inning. That inning in particular was interesting because the two big dogs, Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, in reverse order there, had 2 men on with nobody out. Both went down on strikes. It was kind of a situation we talked about all offseason about, why do we want Bohm behind either of those guys? Is that the protection that we want? They went down on strikes, 2 outs, 2 on, and then he goes oppo. Proves us all wrong, at least in that game, that he can hit in the cleanup spot and be productive. So 2 dingers were our all of our runs in that first game. Ended up being a 5-3 victory. Rangers gave us a little scare against our bullpen towards the end of the game. But overall, just an outstanding opening day. Vibes were great. Stats looked good. Some of the major worries we might have had. Pretty much everyone was productive at the plate, the exception of Bryce Harper. We'll get to that in a little bit. Were you guys feeling as validated in your optimism as I did after opening day? We'll just start with game 1.
It's so hard after sitting through game 3 to go back to game 1 and put myself back in just a positive place. It's not the vibe I was going for here, but if you insist, I will jump in the Wayback Machine a couple days and say, yeah, it was pretty much the best case scenario of facing a tough pitcher, Nathan Eovaldi, ERA under 2 last year. Schwarber comes out, gets him on the board right away. 2 opposite field home runs. Bohm showing power that we were questioning whether or not it was going to be there. They put together some good at-bats. Sanchez looked outstanding. You got a scoreless inning out of Zach Pop. You got to be feeling good at that point. And, as much as we say, let's not overreact to anything the first month of the season. Yeah, you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I see theoretically how this is supposed to work. And it's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, so I'll take it back even further. Like going back to opening day before the game started, where I brought the fam. So Lauren and the girls got to try out the new King swing set. Carl, I don't know if you're gonna fit down that slide, but the girls loved it. Uh, Again, we sat in 140, had a great view of the home run for Schwarber going over the left field fence. Did not think that was getting out over at first glance off the bat, but loved seeing it take a quick early lead. Chris Sanchez is incredible. Looked like he's picked up exactly where he left off, potentially even better. And the sky's the limit with him this year. I think a lot of us are really optimistic about his 2026 season upcoming. And he really got off to a great start. Like you, I'm also trying to compartmentalize the game one from game two and game three. But at the end of Thursday, when we went home, got to really like watch the highlights again, watch some of the plays that would like to see again, and felt good about the start. But again, I'm not the type that is gonna get too high or too low after opening day. I'll say I got a little higher than I usually do, just because I was feeling good about bringing the girls to their first opening day and all that. But it was a little different once we got to Saturday and Sunday. That's where the worries started to kick back in. I think you're gonna mention the overall series. They hit 182. Schwarber, Turner, and Harper, add in JT and Garcia. Those five are batting 123. Like
We'll get there.
We are not at that.
Let Carl have his positivity first, and then he can turn us loose. How about that?
And that's I'm glad we start to lead into it. But I was just thinking about this whole series and how it really could be a microcosm of what is to come this entire season.
Yeah.
We kind of saw everything we were hopeful about and what we are deathly worried about. And I don't see us not going through this roller coaster. Could be every series, every week, every month. This is the kind of team that we have. We know who they are. A couple little wild cards that are interesting to talk about, but it's about how much we can bear it as a fan base up to the playoffs, which I do think we'll get to. But we're gonna have to go through this first. Great. Second game was a really a perfect example of the type of frustration we're going to feel this season, without a doubt. And a little glimmer of hope at the end that ultimately makes the game even more frustrating. It was a game where we did not hit for about 8 innings, exactly 8 innings, just nothing. We thought we were going to face Jacob deGrom that day. He ends up getting pulled because of some soreness in his neck. You think, all right, well, they're throwing in the long man. They're not throwing in another big-time starter. And the Rangers have a solid rotation. Rangers are a good ball club. I was a little more impressed by their lineup than I thought I'd be, but their pitching is solid, at least at the top. So we get, their long man cannot hit the ball at all. Weak contact, strikeouts, failure to catch up on fastballs with 2 strikes, just stuff that's just the usual frustrations that we're used to seeing. At that point, we're starting to see I thought some alarming swings from Trey Turner. His swing looks very long to me. Again, that tends to happen when he's in a slump. JT Realmuto, I'll never get over the fact that he is an aging catcher who still relies on a friggin' leg kick for his timing. What are we doing? Why has that not been addressed ever? A guy who's not catching up to the high heat, especially JT. So all that just starts to compound and compound and compound. And to top it all off, Aaron Nola, who was hilariously a guy I referenced when we made our predictions last week as our 4th starter. Well, here he is playing game 2, giving up 3 runs pretty alarmingly early in the game. He settles in, but that was a very typical Aaron Nola start. And I think what we were all hoping for this year is not vintage Aaron Nola. Want to see something a little better than he's ever come out with. But he had those, I always call them the pumpkin innings for Aaron Nola. He'll look solid for 4 of his first 5, but there's always that one where every ball's a little bit up, every knuckle curve's a little bit flat, and he will throw the meatball at the worst possible time. And we saw a little bit of that, down 3-0 most of the game. Then, lo and behold, a couple bloop hits in the ninth, and we're tied. And we go into extras. And there's a moment where I felt we were definitely going to steal the game. We got Jawns in there. We're down. We're down 4-3. It still feels like, one run in extra innings doesn't bother me. I feel like we're going to get out of that inning down 1. We're at home. We're going to have the ghost runner in the bottom of the 10th, and we're facing Andrew McCutchen. And we got 2 strikes on him. And everything about that at bat just led you to feel that you got to go high heat on Kutch. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but he hadn't had a hit yet in the series. He's doesn't have the bat speed that he used to. You know that he can hit anything down in the zone. He can still rope it like he used to in his MVP form. I don't understand why the call from JT was anything but high cheese on him. Duran ends up throwing a heater down and in, basically in Kutch's wheelhouse. And next thing you know, it's 5-3, and that becomes an insurmountable lead with the ghost runner situation and extras these days. So that was like a little bit of everything in that game. We got that just out of nowhere rally, a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill. Things just seemed to be breaking our way. The crowd really got into it in that 9th inning after suffering for the first 8 innings. That was fun to see that they were still there. It was a Saturday game, opening night. Everybody's getting their opening night T-shirt. But the roller coaster right there, and to me, it really came down to that one pitch to McCutchen. I think we would have won the game, even though we're down 4-3 at that moment. I feel like we had the momentum. We would have won eventually in extras. But that's kind of a thing we've seen for the past couple of years. I always have an issue in moments with the pitch selection for our bullpen that JT tends to throw out there. I don't know if I'm alone on that opinion. That one really stuck out to me. What were your reactions to Game 2? Did you think that there was anything about the bats in that game that was just, they were facing good pitching? Because I didn't see that.
This is, first of all, before I give my analysis, props on using meatball for Aaron Nola. I picked that up as a Team Italy reference, and I respect it.
Always here for it.
Yes. This is a tale as old as time. If you've been a Phillies fan, this happens 3 to 4 times minimum per season, where you're facing some guy who is a last-second replacement, who he didn't know he was starting. He's got a career ERA of like 7.40, and then he comes in and he throws 6 shutout innings, and you make him look like Sandy Koufax. And I genuinely don't know if this is a phenomenon that happens to other teams. Because part of me says, look, this must just happen all the time, and you only realize it when it happens to your team. This is probably a normal occurrence. What I can tell you definitively is that it happens to the Phillies every season. It happens all the time. I get terrified when they're like, oh yeah, the guy you were going to face, this Cy Young caliber pitcher, he's a late scratch, and they have essentially a quadruple A long man taking his place. Especially if he's left-handed. We are cooked. There's no world where we're going to be able to hit him. There was nothing good about the bats in the second game at all. The approach, the results, anything like that. And furthermore, the first game, we got a couple of big swings, but for the most part, I wouldn't say the bats were, good across the board there. First 2 games, the Phillies as a team had 3 barrels. And if you don't know what a barrel is, it's the combination of exit velocity and launch angle that constitutes a really well-struck ball. They had 3 of them in the first 2 games. I haven't seen the data for today. I can't imagine it's too many more. This team is not yet making solid contact. What I am most impressed by is how they managed to cram, and I know I'm not just talking about Game 2 here, I'm talking about the entire series, and I'm sorry, but the way they crammed the entire Phillies fan experience, distilled it down to 3 games. where they look like legitimate World Series contenders. They're getting contributions from their stars. They have a stud starting pitcher. And then they almost blow the game in the ninth because some middle reliever can't hold a 5-run lead. Then they look inept for 8 innings. They get a rally going, a little bit of luck. Jake Berger can't catch a pop-up. It looks like they're going to be good there. And then they cough that one up in the 10th. And I would have also gone high heat, but it's worth noting that Duran's 3-2 pitch, he executed it absolutely perfectly. I mean, it was just the top little bit of the ball was in the strike zone. It was about as perfectly thrown as it could be. But yeah, I obviously not on him. If you want to question JT, I'm fine with that. Then you have, we didn't even talk about, in the 10th inning, Schwarber gets ahead 2-1. They throw the pitch that nicks the plate by a millimeter. He challenges it. It goes correctly to the pitcher on an absolutely perfect pitch. And then 2-2, the next one is legitimately a ball. They call it a strike, but you only get one challenge in extras. It was just the perfect storm of everything. And then you get to today, a game where, again, they look completely inept. And then they start putting things together and just can't come up with any big hits. It seemed like every inning in the middle innings, they had two guys on or the bases loaded and just could not deliver the big hit. They're not hitting the ball well just yet. Luzardo looked human today. Nola looked like the Nola that we all fear. I'm not as worried about Luzardo. Nola, I have concerns about. And overall, it was just the entire Phillies fan experience, the ups and downs, crammed into one 3-game set. And I can't, another 159 games of this, I will lose my mind.
Yeah, like Jake Berger caught pop-up in foul territory away from getting 2-hit shutout on Saturday. It was not a pretty game. It's almost like one of those getaway games where you just like kind of throw in the towel before first pitch even happens. It was 40-something degrees and they didn't even want to go hit the ball. Which, hey, it's not fun to hit in that, but you're paid tons of money to do so. Go do it.
Especially playing a team from Texas, so you can.
Yeah, it's not like they had any excuse either. Look, the at bats, especially JT and Harper, Schwarber after the home run a little bit too. Like some of them are just brutal. Turner especially, but I'm worried about JT. I'm worried a little less so about Turner. I think he'll get it back a little bit. But Harper, I think the red alerts are going off throughout the city right now.
Sure.
He got booed a little bit this weekend, and I think all of the elite, not elite conversation kind of bubbled up into a bit of pressure early on for him, and I think that's gonna. I'm hoping it doesn't turn into something a little bit more, cataclysmic, but not the start that he was looking for, not the start that the team was looking for offensively.
Yeah, I do think the Harper conversation is going to probably lead above all this week. Yeah, the team's frustrating, but it's going to be easy to point to him. I will say, as I mentioned, I stood outside the stadium as they entered the ballpark on opening day, and he was the last player to enter. That was also by design. I think he actually rolled the flag up. But there's an energy around him. I don't know if we're looking for it, but I mean, we've been watching the guy pretty damn closely for 7 years now. I even noticed just up close near him that there's a extra bit of gravitas to him. He's got some gloom or it's all on his shoulders. I'm not seeing even the frustrating, over pandering to him right now. He just seems like a guy who is just going through it, who is putting all the pressure on himself, and it's not helping. It is not.
Yeah, and interesting comments post-game by Thompson, just calling the lineup a little anxious, and Harper rebutted that post-game today. So, even 3 games in, there's a little bit of clubhouse disagreement on the slow start. So it's something to monitor. I think everybody's a little on edge on Harper anyway. So it's just a matter of, what does the next series look like against the Nationals? Because, going into a series against Evaldi and Gore, maybe you excuse it away a little bit, but the Nationals are the Nationals and should heat up a
Yeah,
little
but
bit.
but here we go. Next starter is going to be Taiwan Walker. So you just kind of you feel like you blew your big dogs out in this first series, and we've got Taiwan Walker and a rookie in his first start ever in the majors. And the Nationals, you know what they do to us. I mean, they got it. They always find a way to just eke out wins against us, and that's always going to be with any division rival. But yeah, you have that feeling that we're probably going to have at various points throughout the season a lot where like we're going off the rails already. We're going to start
Yeah.
playing down the competition. We're going to see that our starters aren't as great as we hoped, and the lineup's certainly not doing them any favors. All that could happen, or it could go the other way this week. I will say that I did listen to all of Topper's press conference after this third game, and he's very good at playing that one note and just making everybody sound like oh that this happened, but he threw good pitches, even though Zach Pop got lit up. He'll find something to say that for each player that they executed, except for the times when they did it. And it's just like that sort of. He's not going to give us any sort of insight into what the real worries are. And I feel like what he ultimately does is leads us to worry about everything. I actually think that sort of backfires when he toes the line for everybody as a manager.
Yeah, I mean, we had 3/4 of a season of positive comments from Thompson post game on Jordan Romano last year, so
Exactly.
he's not going to throw anybody under the bus.
Exactly.
Jordan Romano off to a hot start with the Angels, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Is he?
Oh, he's killing it. Here's the thing about all of this. The vibe is not good from the fans. The fact that they were booing at the end of the game today is like noteworthy. I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm not saying, I mean, if I paid for that and I sat through that, I wouldn't be happy either. The vibe around Harper is not good. If they're getting a little bit snippy in turn, and I didn't hear the quotes about Harper rebutting what Thompson said. I don't know the tone, but this is a side effect though of running it back. When you change things about your team, you buy them the goodwill of a grace period to figure it out. You don't have that when it's the same team, and essentially has been since the Arizona series in 2023. You don't get to sit there and be like, well, it's only 3 games, because it's not. It's 300 games. It's 300 plus. It's 2+ seasons of watching the same thing. So it's like if you're in a new relationship and they might have some flaws, but you're so blinded by all the good shit, you're not even noticing because you're rose-colored glasses. If you've been married for 20 years and all of a sudden it becomes like, are you going to fucking take out the trash or not? Like, what are we doing here? Right? That's the point the fans are at. They're looking at this team like, who's going to take out the trash? What is happening here? You guys don't do the thing. You've been doing the same shit the entire marriage, and I've been dealing with it, and I can't deal with it anymore because it's the same thing over and over again. And then you're going to get up there in the post-game presser and be like, I'll take out the trash tomorrow. It's really not a big deal. Things happen. The platitude.
We've out the trash before.
Yeah, I mean the platitudes just get they get old. And as far as the actual disagreement between Rob Thompson and Bryce Harper, I looked at Bryce Harper's analytics for the first couple games because he came out and said it was his goal to walk 150 times or some insane number. He threw out some insane number, and he walked twice today, so he's now on pace for over 100. So good for him. But I looked at the first 2 games on Baseball Savant. After last year only getting 43% of his pitches in the zone, the lowest in baseball, and we spent the whole offseason, who's going to protect him? They have no reason to throw him strikes. Guess what they did? They threw him a lot of strikes. First 2 games, 66% of pitches in the zone, I believe, including, and I didn't even know this was a thing until today, they have something called a meatball percentage. What percentage of the pitches you get are qualified to be meatballs? 15%. Bryce got 15% of the pitches he saw in the first 2 games were meatballs, and all he managed was a broken bat single to right field. So, this is a whole different problem I didn't even anticipate. I was worried about him chasing outside of the zone. I didn't consider, what if they just start throwing him strikes and he's not hitting them? Obviously, way too early to worry about it, but I don't like that it even crept into my head at all.
Yeah, I got to believe that's pressure. What other X factor could be there? We haven't heard anything about injuries right now. I don't think it's fair to say his skills have noticeably declined. He's not executing. He just isn't. And there's something mental with him. I don't think it's something we should ignore throughout the season, because this is, as we said last week, the Bryce Harper era, and he's got to come through. There are no excuses left at this point for our star, who is paid $300 million. I do want to just point out. Sorry, Mike, go ahead real quick. What was your take on Harper?
No, nothing additional to say on Harper. Just, I think we all share the same concerns about the aging curve with Harper, and is his bat slowing down a little bit. But I think we correctly identified the pitch selection has been an issue over the past couple years, and we just need to see that improve. And he's got the right mindset about trying to walk a little bit more this year, but we need to see that actually happen.
No doubt. Pat, just regarding the fan reaction, I really want to add an extra bit of defense to the fans, because it is going to get ugly quick if they can't show something different from the past couple seasons. I think the control is how they've been with Justin Crawford. Now, Crawford has given them some base hits. I think he's hitting .333 right now. Made a great play in the outfield, 2 great plays in the outfield this series. Has an energy that we haven't seen on this team in a long time. He doesn't have that stiff, established veteran star air about him. He's in here with excitement. He's got pedigree. His dad was a big time ball player. But you can see it in the way he carries himself in the field. He had a near collision with Marsh yesterday. Just the reaction there was just a refreshing look about him. He was able to smile through it. Clearly, knew that there was a miscommunication there. That's on the center fielder. But it just felt like he was having fun, and the fans reacted to that. Mm-hmm. And I bet that he will be exempt from any of these bad, boos or anything else. We recognize when something is new and an attempt to not run it back on this roster. There's just not nearly enough of it to satisfy us if the results are going to be this much similar to the past couple of years. A couple other things, just there are some positives that we can point to, in sort of the periphery of the lineup. Brandon Marsh looks pretty good. 2 doubles in the first game, not the hardest hit balls. One of them was, but I'm seeing a plate approach from him that I hope to see continue. I think we've seen streaks of that when he's at his best, willing to go with the pitch. A little bit of a better eye than you can see when he's in a big slump. That's positive. If we can get that level of productivity out of him where he is in the order, that's huge. Bryson Stott, looks better than he did at this point last season. He had a very good spring, at least towards the end of it. There's been a lot of talk about him, being at the form that we hoped he would be a couple of years ago. So far, I'll buy it. Edmundo Sosa looks, he's just a solid player. I really feel like if someone goes down in the lineup, in the infield especially, that's a real nice luxury to have. To feel like there's a guy on the bench who you trust as much as any of your starters at any point. And other than that, I think Adolis Garcia, he had a bit of hit a rope today that was right to somebody's glove that could have really broken the game open, maybe changed the entire complexion of today's game, in which we had bases loaded twice, only got 2 runs out of it. But yeah, I mean, some of the fresh faces, some of the new looks in the lineup, it's not all doom and gloom. But when you go through a 3-game series and your top three, your highest paid players of Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper go for a total of 5 for 37 in a 3-game series, you're not going to win baseball games. That's not the way a roster is supposed to perform. And I don't see any tweaks to the lineup at this point that are sort of incoming that would change that dynamic. I really do like. We can get more into this later, but I'm loving the 9-hole, 1-hole flip. The chaos that can be caused by Crawford and Turner is really exciting to me. What we can do running the bases, hit and run, whatever else, and then get to Schwarber and Harper. I want to see that stay that way. But we got more production out of the 9-hole than we did out of the top three. So that whole plan's not going to do anything unless we get something out of those guys. Anything else that you guys take from these first 3 games that looks like a trend, positive or negative, that we should actually sink our teeth into?
I'm just gonna say this. The time for talking about like the lineup is done. It is what it is. I preferred Schwarber hitting after Harper. It's not gonna happen. He's gonna get protection from Bohm. That's fine. That's what everybody wants to do. The issue thus far has not been anything other than Bryce missing pitches that he should be hitting with authority. And it's happened at the start of a season before with Bryce. It was a few years back where he hit 3 home runs in maybe the 7th game. But like before that, he was really, really struggling. So I'm not going to overreact to good players having a bad series. The only thing that jumps out to me is that these guys do not have the length of leash or rope, rather, that a team would normally be afforded at this point, because the fans are understandably frustrated and on edge. And that's why somebody like Justin Crawford feels like such a breath of fresh air. Andrew Painter's going to feel like a breath of fresh air. Adolis Garcia, missing pop-ups in the outfield, not great, but he hit a couple balls, on the screws. Like, guys like that, you're going to overlook any of the negatives because it's like they feel fresh. And I just think it's one of those things where if you don't freshen the team up enough, well, then they have to go out and deliver. Standing pat might have been the best move on paper. I'm not even criticizing anyone for the decisions that were made. The decisions were made. They are what they are. I'm not going to go back and relitigate them. But when you do this, when you make that decision, the guys have to deliver. Because if they don't and they look listless, the blame is going to fall back on the front office. And Rob Thompson, who's a guy who 4 years with the team, 4 playoff appearances, went to a World Series, it feels crazy to be like he's going to be on the hot seat. And I don't think I'm a reactionary type, but if this team keeps doing the exact same thing in a negative way as previous years, the vitriol is going to turn towards Rob Thompson in a hurry. And I think that process has already started, to be honest.
There's some carryover from last year, and again, you can nitpick any manager's moves in the postseason when you lose, but there was some of that, a little bit more than usual, I'd say, after the 2025 postseason. I do want to circle back on Garcia and Crawford. First, Crawford, it's great to see that he got his first hit in his first at-bat, first pitch even, and then second at-bat, same thing. Great to see somebody get that out of the way early, because that can bubble over real quick. If you're 3-4 games with offers starting your career, it's gonna weigh on you. So glad to see he got that out of the way. He's been a bright spot both in the field and at the plate. Garcia, I think, while the stats don't look pretty, the results of the stats don't look pretty, he's had some really hard hit balls that have turned into outs. 3 outs that have been hit over, 2 outs that have been hit over 100 miles an hour. 3 that had expected batting averages over 500. So he's hitting the ball hard, just not getting the results from it. And again, that play in right field today was nothing to brag about. We'll just But I'd say like there was a play on Saturday that he made a nice catch that I don't think our predecessor in right field, Castellanos, would have made.
Agreed. Unlikely. Last parting shot from the series that I just want to point out just feels like more of the same and probably what we'll be dealing with moving forward. More than likely, 9 free passes in this game today. 8 walks, 1 hit by pitch. 3 runs total produced by this lineup. 3 hits. I don't know of many lineups who could even pull that off. I mean, 9 walks in a game is insane at this level when you have anything above a Colorado Rockies level batting order. The timely hitting is still an issue. The weak contact is still an issue. The living and dying by the home run. And Mike, you had a comment on our text thread earlier this weekend that we really only have one power hitter in this lineup de facto. And to live and die by the home run with only that is not going to do much for you. So the other guy I want to point out, Topper's going to bear the brunt of a lot of this if this continues this way, but I don't get what Kevin Long does for these hitters. Like I said, we've got a guy like Trey Turner whose swing is long as could be. You don't see any adjustments there when he's in a slump. It's just he'll work through it. It could take 4 weeks. It doesn't seem like anything done by a hitting coach. And then for JT, again, to have this leg kick, this timing issue, year after year for months at a time, when you never see a veteran rely on that sort of approach at the plate, unless he's a Hall of Fame caliber player. I just don't see where plate approaches change. I don't see working deep counts where that's sort of the strategy in a given inning or against a given pitcher. I just never see that where I swear when I watch other well-coached teams, in my estimation, I see a plan. I see a plan that gets executed. The results might not always be what you want, but it just never feels like this team is on the same page, playing like a team. Everyone bats on an island. I don't know if you guys saw anything differently, but I definitely have that fatigue from this team in the Rob Thompson era for sure. Any other parting shots on this opening series? We do have the Nationals coming up this week. Anything?
I mean, look, Kevin Long, in my opinion, should be on the chopping block before Rob Thompson. I know Long has a couple of really powerful and influential players who are fans of his. But certainly, I think if you had to pinpoint something that's been more of an issue the last few years during the worst moments for this team, it has been plate approach. Way more than managerial decisions. Look, and the managerial decisions will always get overblown. I remember Game 4 with the Kerkering error. They were killing Rob Thompson after the game because he had the gall to intentionally walk Ohtani to pitch to Betts, and then Duran walked Betts with the bases loaded. And they were like, how could Topper do that? Ignoring the fact that the team scored 1 run in 11 innings. Then I go to the World Series and I watch the Blue Jays intentionally walk Ohtani 5 times in a row to pitch to Mookie Betts in a single game. And Mookie Betts didn't make him pay once, and everybody's like, John Schneider's a genius. Yeah, why would you give Ohtani anything to hit? It's all about results, and you can nitpick all you want, but the more pressing issue seems to always be the bats go cold at those times. And I think, to disagree with you a little bit, I think they had half of an approach today. I don't think you draw 8 walks without some sort of approach. I think the approach was to work counts, to take pitches, and I think they've actually been pretty good with that. The problem is the second half of the approach has to be somebody has to deliver a timely hit on a ball in the zone. All right, you work the walks, you got the guy on base, now the pitcher has to come to you. You have to barrel a few balls up. You got to make him pay for that, and that's what they haven't been able to do. And I'm not sure I put that in a vacuum on any person, whether it's the manager, the hitting coach, whoever, but they're going to have to get better at that. And if we're looking big picture, I think Kevin Long's work leaves a lot to be desired.
Agreed. I think that's the main point I take from this. All right. A couple other 2026 regular season on the field stories that are worth a note, worth some commentary. The biggest one has to do with a rebranding of Harry the K's, the 200 level bar scene in left field that's been there since for at least I think it's been as long as the stadium has been in existence. Is that right? Harry the K's was there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think so, yeah.
Just one of the, premier hangout spots, one that gets a lot of camera time throughout the game. Just a fun place to watch a game. It's right next to Ashburn Alley. And in his infinite wisdom, John Middleton decided to rebrand it to make a pretty penny from Ghost energy drinks, which honestly, I don't know if I'm just out of the loop on, the Red Bull scene. I never heard of Ghost energy drinks. But that's what we've got on the banner, on the awning. And Harry the K, the name is nowhere to be found anymore. And fans, like they do in Philadelphia, catch on to this stuff very quickly. And the social media chatter heated up immediately as soon as it was made known that that's what they'd renamed Harry the K's. And a lot of stuff about just disrespect to Harry, disrespect to the fans who love calling it that, all that sort of stuff. And then we actually got some commentary from Harry Callis's wife, his widow, who is bringing more vitriol than I think any fan has, saying downright, if you're not going to honor my deceased husband's legacy like you have and how the fans have wanted to for the past 20 some years, we're not even going to let you play the high hopes footage that they play after the end of each win at the stadium, which to me is a big deal. I never leave until the song is over. That's just a nice tradition that I have definitely warmed up to over the years going to the ballpark. So this is one of those things where the management, the ownership of this franchise, we've loved their willingness to open up their pockets. That's been a cause of great goodwill compared to prior ownership for sure. But there's always this little element of tone deafness that I think you get from any sports owner. But the Phillies seem to just make really odd decisions like this. And this is one of the most egregious of them. Guys, what would you have done otherwise? If we needed the sponsorship money to come from somewhere, we got a big payroll, obviously. I understand you got to make money to pay your guys, and no matter how much money your owner has in his pockets. I see a few alternatives. What would you have done? Did it offend you as much as it did me?
I don't think it offended me as much as it frustrated me, because there is a balance that I feel like a stadium needs between the corporatization of sponsorships and the overall aura of the legacy of the team, of the franchise, of the ballpark. This stadium looks a lot different than it did when it opened up in 2004. Back in 2004, when the stadium opened up, there were 3 outfield sponsors on the wall. They crammed in 2 more this year after I think they had 6 or 7 last year. So they have used every little space of that left field wall, and it changes, the feel of the ballpark. When you got rid of the out of town scoreboard, that one really bothered me too, because that made the ballpark feel like a little bit of Shibe Park, like a little homey, a little old school. Got rid of the analog clock, which is not as big of a deal to me personally, but it just takes away from the feel that you're in a ballpark that has a legacy. When everything is corporatized, when you have sponsorships everywhere, it just feels like you're selling out for every last dollar, which in fairness, like, the team is expensive. There is a lot of money put into the players on the field, but there needs to be the balance, and you gotta have that balance to make it feel like you're not just selling out for every dollar you can get.
I wasn't surprised, unfortunately. This is something that applies to 30 teams across Major League Baseball. I wish I was in Philly for opening day. I wasn't. I was out here in LA. I spent my evening at Uniqlo Field at Dodger Stadium. I read a story on the Dodgers Reddit about how there's been a season ticket holder for 50 years who is not good with technology, and in the past they have charged him $600 to accommodate his request for print tickets. He pays an extra $600 so he can come to the ballpark with printed out tickets that they scan.
Wow.
And this year they told him,
As someone that prints out all of my digital tickets, I don't think I would even pay $600 for that.
this guy was happy to keep paying it, and they told him, nope, get an iPhone or get lost. 50 years, season tickets. I watched last year as the Pittsburgh Pirates removed the Roberto Clemente logo on their right field wall in place of a Surfside vodka advertisement. And their fans basically threatened to burn down PNC Park until they went back and changed it. I watched this happen everywhere. It's a microcosm of what's going on in the world with billionaires just tripling their money while sitting around doing nothing. The rich just keep getting richer, the poor just keep getting poorer. It is not exclusive to the Phillies or Major League Baseball. Everything is a cash grab. From the same league that had signs all over the clubhouse, no gambling, no this and that, now they're encouraging their fans to go online and gamble on every specific pitch. It's disgusting. It's absolutely the fact that the Philly, and we're not going to sit here and pretend that if they took the Ghost Energy sponsorship and put it somewhere else in the ballpark, that it wouldn't still be a lucrative thing. I doubt the folks at Ghost Energy were like, you get Harry the K's out of here or we're walking with our money. And by the way, if they were like that, you have more than enough people sponsoring every other square inch of the ballpark. You do not need to do this with every square inch of the ballpark. You turn on the TV, and every half inning there's a different company with an ad superimposed on the back of the pitcher's mound. I don't know if they're doing that at Citizens Bank, but you watch a lot of these games. They're doing it. The electronic advertisements behind the batters. On Netflix, the batter looked like a 3D hologram because they had to prioritize making sure you could see the thing. They have ads on the helmets. They have ads on the jerseys. They have ads everywhere. And for the most part, I'm just throwing up my hands and I'm being like, it is what it is. But you got to draw a line somewhere. And if those things come at the expense of, your legends, your connections to the past, then you just gotta say that's too much. That's too much. It's $300 to take my family to the ballpark. And if you're gonna take every square inch of the ballpark and put an advertisement on it, then the prices should come down. But they're not going to. They're gonna keep charging you whatever you're willing to pay. And they're gonna take the extra money and they're gonna pocket it and they're gonna be like, we need a salary cap. They're gonna keep whining and complaining about everything. It's not enough that you could be an owner like Artie Moreno, who shows complete ineptitude for decades, shows no ability to do your job to any satisfactory level, and then when you go to sell your asset, it's worth 20 times what you paid for it. It's the biggest layup of all time. If you have the money to buy a baseball team, you buy it. Do whatever you want. Do good, do bad. Don't pay attention, pay attention. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. It's going to be worth a lot more money than when you bought it. And I'm so sick of them pretending like, oh, if we don't rename Harry the K's the Ghost Energy deck, we can't afford Adolis Garcia. Get the fuck out of here with this shit. Anyway, that's how I feel about it.
Oh, great rant, Pat.
I could listen to that one over and over.
Absolutely. I do think, I was just looking at it. I was sitting in 109, which is, shallow right center, shallow right field on opening day, and I was looking at the awning where it says Ghost Energy Drink. There was plenty of room on that awning to just have it say Ghost Energy Deck at Harry the Case. They're not running out of font space. It was just such a ball drop. There was no reason that they had to do it this starkly. I think even Harry's widow mentioned that they could have named it that way in the article I read yesterday. Just an easy way to make everybody happy. I'm well aware that the capitalism creep is going to happen forever. They're always going to find a way to populate more of your visual field with ads and just to milk every dollar they can out of the asset that they have. But like you said, Pat, to insult your legends and to be so tone deaf to the fans, to me is not just a microcosm of what's going on in the world, but it's a macrocosm in this instance, and this is just my own sensitivity as a Phillies fan. I'm sure you guys feel it. But this team on the field feels dry and corporate too, to a lot of people. So for this to happen at this moment, when we are fatigued with the team, feeling like they're running it back, feeling like they're not making their effort, to give us more, even though they're charging us more. I think I mentioned in a previous podcast, season tickets, ours went up 17% after an 11% increase the year before. And I am seeing the resale value soften. The losses are actually coming already this season. There is fatigue among this fan base for all the reasons that we discussed earlier in this podcast. But yes, the tone deafness and just the corporate stiffness, I think permeates this franchise a little bit more than you might see in others. Constantly being told one thing and seeing the other. That's sort of just a common through line that we're all experiencing with this team the past couple years. So I think it stings even more. I hope they can fix it. I'd be just so appalled if they didn't. Find some compromise, get the name back on there, make it so that they can play the song at the end of the game. Those are just such core things, such beautiful, classic baseball expressions that you have that permeate every generation, that make baseball what it is. It gives it its staying power, and to erode that and not even realize you're doing it, it just blows my fucking mind. Anyway. And rants on that. Last thing, got a couple minutes. Just a weird story about Alec Boehm. You guys, I'm sure, picked up on. He is in the middle of a lawsuit. He's suing his parents for a number of things. The allegations are primarily centered on they being his financial advisor for years, not really being forthcoming with the intricacies of that. Setting up shell companies that they were able to collect fees off of, a little bit of maybe bilking the charity that is set up in his name. Just a weird dynamic that we've heard with other athletes before. The first thing that came to mind for me was Aaron Rodgers. That was a different set of family issues, but you hear it from time to time where a pro athlete who's just done nothing but play that sport his whole life. And, of course you're going to let your parents be your take care of the money when you're a 14-year-old phenom and are never told to learn anything but the game you're playing into adulthood. But for me, the story, the real about in the story is this: did we learn something about Alec Boehm that we didn't know, and does it make some things in retrospect about the way he's handled himself on the field, the comments we've had maybe about his maturity? Does this explain a little bit of it? Do we have any right to even speculate that? It just kind of got my antenna up. Like, oh, a guy who doesn't get along with his parents, yeah, I could see him slamming his helmet down at random moments of a game when another more mature player might be fine with it. That's just where I went. How about you guys?
I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, we've seen similar stories with Ryan Howard, same type of issue happened with him just 2 decades ago. I mean, I'd say it's not a common occurrence, but it's something that we've seen before. I don't know if there's any conclusions I can necessarily draw with him, with Boehm in particular, but terrible situation for him personally. I'm sure nobody in their right mind really ever wants to go down the path of suing their own family, but just hate to see it, and hopefully it doesn't lead to anything on the field getting carried over.
Carl, I love that you are diving down these rabbit holes that I never even considered. Just like, getting into really your Freud bag is very impressive. Someone's got to do it, and it's not going to be me, so thank you. I did not make that connection because I also don't know enough about the story to say definitively he doesn't get along with his parents. To me, if you're a grown man and you're letting your parents handle your finances to that degree, something tells me you do get along with them, and maybe he was betrayed by this. That might be me giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure. I will say, like, this does happen, and, like, when Otani... I mean, there are people to this day who are like, how would he not notice the interpreter taking that money out of his account? I think a lot of these guys are just like, hey, I just want to focus on playing ball. Let me get somebody I trust. And it's not like your card's going to get declined if you have $5 million instead of 10. So unless you might not even be checking that. It doesn't surprise me that these guys get taken advantage of as much as they do. If anything, it surprises me that it doesn't happen more often. If the accusations are true, it's deplorable. I mean, using the guy's charity to siphon money for yourself is absolutely, abhorrent behavior, and hopefully he gets that whole thing squared away. I am not willing to draw any parallels to anything that's happening in the courtroom to the baseball diamond, because the second I start doing that, then I'm like, well, all these very valid concerns I've had about Alec Boehm for 5 years, it was just because his dad's kind of a dick. No, we're not doing that. I feel bad for him. It's a distraction. But he's, hopefully he can get a good lawyer who can handle that, and he could focus on the field. And that's the best way he can get back at his parents, by the way. Really ball out this year, go into a weak, free agent market, and sucker some team into giving you $180 million. And then, they don't get to touch any of it. So that's it. Alec, if you're listening, if you want to win this thing, if you want to come out on top, it's up to you to have the year of your career and tell your parents they can't have any of that free agent money.
Love that. Bottom line, whether you're being Freudian about it or not, we want to see you grow up, Alec. We want to see you grow up on the ball field. We want to see you be an accountable player, and taking care of your finances is part of growing up, bud. So let's get it all together this year, and maybe get that contract from the Phillies. All right. Anything else leading into next week?
No, man, I'm excited to, we're going to do a podcast every week, and that means we're going to have to, like, really break down games that, hopefully we'll look back in September and be like, I can't believe we were going over the barrel percentages for the second game of the season. But that's kind of how this thing works. I'm looking forward to a fresh week. Starting tomorrow, and hopefully the Phillies, getting back in the win column and getting over 500 and climbing out of the cellar in the NL East.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the crowds look like in this Washington series. It wasn't a sellout on Saturday or Sunday, after obviously a beautiful day. Opening day was a little colder over the weekend, but should be interesting to see what we get, because not exactly the hottest start to the year, and nobody's dying to jump into a night game at Citizens Bank Park when it's still March.
Yeah, I know we got a BOGO hot dog night coming up. That always helps boost the attendance a little bit. And I hope fans turn out for Painter's first start. I hope that is that's a good vibes night. Get behind him right away. That could bring the attendance up. But yeah, I'm seeing soft sales this week. It's early in the season. It's cold. These past two games did not help, but hopefully the team can bring it, get the fans back quickly, and we'll have a lot of positive things to talk about next week. I think we were ready to sign off. Once again, guys, this is Pacific Jawns Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe as part of Barker Ball Media. We'll be back again next week. Go Phils!